Pod.
Rugby pod.
Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod, where we'll be discussing Leicester Tigers peaking at just the right time. Also, the pride of the North, not Newcastle, Rob. We're talking about Sale Sharks smothering Jim's Saracens. Gloucester, another one of Jim's old teams. How many clubs you had, pal? Absolutely massacring the Exeter Chiefs. And also our friends down in Wales. How good was it for Welsh rugby this weekend, obviously, apart from the dregs? They did a bit of giant killing too. So, James, what are you saying?
Andrew, it was amazing for the Welsh team. So speaking of Wales, we're going to be joined by former Wales interim boss, but more importantly now, is the Cardiff gaffer, the great jockey, Matt Sherratt, one of your old teammates, Goody.
Yes, he is. So settle back, enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed on Spotify.
Andrew, before we get into the boxing, what about the feedback from last week's episode? All I'm seeing is Larry the Lobster and a sunburnt JD Vance. I just went back to have a look at the video. I was like, make sure everything's working. Have you got something to say for yourself or not? That was an absolute murder. You looked like you were about to die.
Mate, for people that commented, I didn't even know there was people commenting on YouTube, so I don't even look at YouTube ever. Who does YouTube? Maybe I need to get down with the kids and do it.
A big platform as well as
I know,
Spotify.
yeah. But I looked at, Jim showed me some of the messages and the comments, so I had a good look down. And then I looked at the video and I just blamed the lighting. If in doubt, blame production, lighting.
Andrew.
It was like, look at me now in Spotify. I look tanned, I look lean, I look healthy for me. Yeah, it looked awful, didn't it? I didn't realise how bad it looked.
What did you say to me when I said to you, like, you are very red, and when we were in the Cayman Islands as well, you were burnt there, and you know I stay out of the sun. Like, yeah. I do like the sun, but I just stay out. It's the Asian skin. But with you, what did you say to me about how you get suntanned?
Mate, you got to go red to go brown. That's all. That's all you know. And I was fucking bright red out in Dubai last week. But I'm back. I'm back.
Larry the Lobster, a.k.a. JD Vance.
I cannot believe how bad it looked. Just shiny off the lighting, but there we go. We're home.
Anyway, loved it, Andrew. And not as much as I would have loved to have been at the boxing, so thank you for the offer to take me, I was going to say, pitch side, take me ringside at the weekend. But we were going back and forth on message. Did Zeeb sort you out the tickets to go to the boxing?
Yeah, Big Zeebs came good with 2 tickets. 15 rows back from the ring, and he said, Goody, I've got 2 tickets for you. They're yours. Bring whoever you want. And first person I go to is big flip-flop Jim, and he denied. Jim just denied it. He said, no, I am spending the weekend with my wife, with my 4 children, because I love them all. This is what he was saying. And I'm like, yeah, but it's Eubank against Ben at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And James Hamilton, and I'll say this on the podcast, he put his family first. What a good human being you are, Jim.
He's just been on holiday with them.
And Rob, and don't I know it, and don't I feel it, of course. But I was down in England. I was doing some Sarri stuff last week, and I was at the game Friday, and need to get back. A lot going on, but you know I love boxing, not as much as I love my family, and I would have loved to have been there. And I thought it was going to be good. I thought it was going to be a ding-dong, but I mean, I ain't seen a fight like that in years. No. And watching it on TV, I was watching it with Beck, who was doing a bit of admin on the laptop, bless her, but JJ was watching it, and I was like, they're not all like this. This is, I was telling him the story about Eubank Senior and Nigel Benn, like watching the fights back in the day, that this is like the trilogy that's going to happen and all the stuff in the lead up, and it didn't disappoint. What was it like? I was going to say with the mongrel mob. I don't want to say that. The salt of the earth, the people's people at the fight. Was it as good as it looked on TV?
No, mate, you were right first time. The mongrel mob. I have never seen so many shifty blokes in all my life. And I was in great seats. I dread to think what it was like further back.
Say, yeah.
Honestly, looking round, I'm like, are these people for real? And I sound awful saying it, but anyone that's been to boxing, mainly because it's at Tottenham, but when you've gone to a boxing fight at any level, there's just a different level of people there, right? And
there's a lot of tribal tattoos at the bottom of the backs. That's all I know.
Yeah. There was some women there with not very much clothing on, and I'm just like, wow. It was interesting. Good people watching, actually. But as long as you kept your phone in your pocket, your hands in your pockets, you didn't say anything.
Andrew, you're being too negative. We're going to be positive on this episode. That was a night for British sport. It bound a country for a couple of hours.
Yeah, mate, and genuinely, apart from some of the people, it was unbelievable. The atmosphere, and I took my mate Dan Backman, who's Watford goalie, as second choice to Jim Hamilton, obviously, and he's Austrian. And he's like, what are Aussies people? What are Aussies people like? And I said, mate, these are football fans, mate. But the lowest of the football fans you can imagine.
You're being too harsh, Andrew. These are paying customers, mate.
Well, I don't know how they've got some of the cash to buy them, but it didn't look like legitimate jobs going on, or many of them there. But, mate, it was amazing. The atmosphere, and it starts with, there's a few warm-up fights, Anthony Yard and all this stuff, and it was good. But then as soon as Eubank Senior is seen getting out of the car, the place went wild. And, you know, it started building up. Conor Benn was getting booed every time he came on screen. And, you know, the crescendo around the actual fight. The fight, and we've all been to sporting events, and Jim, you know, we've played in Champions Cup finals. You know, you've done a load of work at the World Cup, which was spine-tingling for you. In 23, wasn't it, when you were pitch side? You know, we've been to AJ fights. We've been to a lot of events, like world-class sporting events over our careers, both playing in them and, you know, going to watch them as fans and working at things like that. But I'm telling you now, that is one of the best events I've ever been to in terms of a spectacle. The fight itself, how they are going hammer and tongs at each other for 12 rounds, 36 minutes non-stop. Like, how are your arms, lads? And I know your chins are sore, and I've got a few chins, but my God, the actual fight itself, there was no massive shots where, like me and Jim were at the AJ fight where he gets sparked by Dubois, and that was amazing, but it was 3 or 4 rounds or something. This was 12 rounds of hammer and tongs, and it was an amazing night it's an amazing weekend actually for English sport. Yeah, you see the scenes at Liverpool yesterday, and I know, Jim, you're a Man United fan, but actually when you see stuff like that, it shows how important sport is to our society and how much people care and love going and watching events and doing all that stuff. It was amazing, Jim.
It was unbelievable. The big thing for me was the Chris Eubank Senior and Junior, and you know my feelings on the importance of dads and male role models, but he's an icon. And, you know, there's a lot to be cheerful about, but I will echo and reiterate your sentiments on British sport. Like, that was just kind of brought it home, really. It's coming out, but brought it home at the weekend, seeing the scenes in Liverpool and just how much sport means to different people, whether or not it's football or boxing or our sport in rugby. So, yeah, really cool to see.
Yeah, it was. Should we chat some ruggers then?
Let's see how positive.
As long as it's positive.
Well, I've got to start with a negative, Jim, because it's not a negative for me, it's a negative for you, because Sale, let's go back to Friday night, they absolutely battered Saracens, your team. How was it? You were there, hobnobbing.
What does hobnobbing mean?
It just
Be
means
specific.
It just means no doubt you're in hospitality, being wined and dined, hobnobbing around the bigwigs, hanging out with owners and I was going to say trainers. That's horse racing, but owners and other owners and money launderers. No, I mean people with money.
No, I was with the masses as well as the owners and stuff like that. Really good setup at the AJ Bell. So big shout out to Sale. I saw your mate Dean Schofield as well, and Will Addison came up to me and was chatting about the podcast. So some really cool, like, northern grit up there. So I've not been there for a long time. He looked loose. He was thirsty, he looked loose, he looks happy. Yeah. Energy giver.
Dean Schofield, I'm telling you now, is the loosest bloke you could ever have a beer with. And it's not one, it's about 15. But he's a great human being, isn't he?
Out of all the clubs that I look at now, or even before actually, I always felt like Sale would have been a really good club to play for. Like, Manchester's a great city, really cool, loads going on with the football, with the music scene. But Sale have always had that kind of, I don't know, there's been like a mystique around them ever since they had Jason White and Sebastian Chabal. And then when Alex Sanderson went to the club, I was like, right, there's a turning point for this club now, because you've got a brilliant coach, you've got a South African thread through it. Then they got George Ford, and look, you know, just on George Ford, Andrew, I know you have your views on him. I think you might have said that he's a brilliant Premiership player. But since he's been back fit, he has transformed how that club are looking. And we've said it in the last couple of weeks, the way that they're playing at the line, the way that he's finding width with guys like Aaron Reid. I know he scored that wonder try, and Carpenter, and getting the ball out into them channels. But the physicality at the line is just, mate, they they blew Saracens away like they blew Quins away the week before.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, not just because they're obviously going to be in the top 4, but they're a shout. They are a shout for the Prem this year. Because I was thinking, is anyone going to beat Bath? But you talk about coming good at the right time.
Yeah. You talk about the team itself, and this is a credit to Sale and a lot of people at the club, Alex Sanderson, a lot of the coaches and academy coaches, the crop of English players there, and we are talking, I'm English, so you want to hear about English players and, you want teams to challenge for the title, but the crop of young English players there, so Poco Fajour, Bevan Rodd in the front row.
Andrew, just across this whole episode, when you name players, I'm just going to say Bolter at the end, just so you know, because there's a few. So just start again. Yeah. No, just start them once again.
So you start in the front row, you've got Bevan Rodd and Asher Apoko Fajour. Bolter for the Lions, potentially. He can play both sides. 2 good young English players. You've got Joe Carpenter, Marcy White,
Bolter,
who, was outstanding. Roebuck on the wing.
Bolter.
Just scoring tries for fun as well. And there is a good young crop of English players there. So it's a credit to Sale for producing these guys. But they are, if you ask Bath who they wouldn't want to play in a final, and Bath are head and shoulders above nearly all the teams at the minute, but Bath wouldn't fancy Sale again, I don't reckon, in the final, because it's so different. They are physical. George Ford was outstanding in attack and game management. People talk about Lions. I still don't see it because of the physicality. He goes high and bounces off tackles, but he was absolutely phenomenal, ball in hand, his vision and his game management. But then the flip side of that, and we'll get to the game potentially later, Finn Smith, he was absolutely wicked, and he's ahead of George Ford for me in terms of that selection. But they are on a run. And do you remember it was months ago when there was some, and this is where you should never trust computers and predictors and all this stuff. They gave Sale something like a 5% or a 9% chance of making the playoffs. And Alex Sanderson did an interview post-match and was like, after they'd won a game, and he's like, let's see what your predictor says now about 9%, what a load of tosh that is. So they've come good and they are looking strong. Next up for them, Friday Night Lights at Mattioli Woods, Welford Road, with a big sort of playoff dust-up against Leicester. And they've had success down there. So they're in great shape. And with George Ford back at 10, and, the players in and around him and the South African sort of balance in that team and the physicality, Luke Karansicki never tackles legally.
Oh, my chopperoo.
Yeah, I question whether any of them are legal, but they look amazing. And if you just throw your hands out, it looks like you're chopping a in something, but you're doing it with your head. So the physicality is off the charts. And I'm really chuffed, actually, as a lad, Cy McIntyre, who's a prop on the bench, comes on. And I was at Wasps with him. He's a brilliant lad. He's from Manchester. And he's gone back there and, he's doing exceptionally well behind Bevan Rodd. And there's other props there that are vying for it. But great story on him. He used to, when we were at Wasps, he was an Uber driver as well when he was at Wasps.
Really?
Yeah. We used to call him the Uber driver, not because he did it properly, but he used to ferry other people's friends around. So Cy McIntyre worked for Uber. That's what we called him. But there's a great story there. And, credit to Simon Orange as well, as the owner, that they've kept pumping money in and kept backing it. He's done a lot for the club. And, for me, they're not favourites, but they are just behind Bath at the minute and doing exceptionally well. It's great to see for the North as well.
Right, Andrew, before we wrap up this game, we've got to give Aaron Reid a shout out. Scotland's Aaron Reid.
Yes.
Can you believe he's only got 3 caps? Unbelievable. You think that could potentially be try of the season?
Mate, a ridiculous finish. It was, I don't think it, I know it. But then there was another decent one on Saturday as well that I might get to later on. But, mate, it was ridiculous. The wheels, he's done Tompkins inside and out. Poor old Nick Tompkins just grasping at air. Gets turned inside out. And then he skins Elliot Daly. And it's a wonder try. Brilliant play. Lovely lad as well. I interviewed him up in Glasgow not long ago. But didn't sound Scottish, Jim.
Well, he bleeds blue. He's played 3 times for Scotland, so he's Scottish to me.
Yeah,
and the way
he
he played at the weekend, he's definitely Scottish.
Jim, one thing I need to ask you on. What about Marrow and Curry? Going at each other.
It was a proper scrappy do. So Marrow checks him. Well, I mean, Marrow flies out the line, tries to smash him. The try comes off the back of it. And then, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, those Curry boys don't hold back, do they?
Oh, mate, they've got some beasts up there. I mean, the South Africans don't hold back. They got that Northern see you next Tuesday. They got Luke Cowan-Sickie as well. And they were just physically completely dominant throughout the game. So, but Saracens still in with a shout. Tom Willis was great at 8. What about that carry again? And look, I saw Richard Wigglesworth and JD as well from a Lions point of view. They wouldn't have just been looking at Maro Itoje, of course. There'll be a few lads that are literally across Sale and Saracens on the cusp of potentially going up some 50-50 calls. So dominant performance by Sale, but a great evening had by myself and a lot of the fans. They did it right up there on Friday night.
Did you get out in the smash in Manchester afterwards?
No, I got in a hire car and drove home for 3.5 hours. Contrast to you, Andrew.
The glamour.
And I probably woke up probably more fucked than you.
Leicester looked good at the weekend.
Yeah, they
Were you
did.
there?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't there. I was at the boxing, lads. Saturday afternoon, so I went to the boxing. Leicester did look good, although Quins, I'm going to say it, they've gone soft, Quins. They've gone soft. Last 3 or 4 games now?
Gone. All right. Gone. All right.
Well, we'll come on to someone talking about teams being soft a bit later on, but yeah, I mean, they lost Marcus Smith. They had a red card, but Leicester are timing it nicely. And I was pretty harsh on Leicester a few weeks back when they got humperdinked by Glasgow in the quarterfinals of the Champions Cup. And, you know, you question the desire of some of the players and the effort in that game. But the last 2 weeks against Bristol last week, they've obviously had a rocket. You know, Michael Checker's got the flag out. He's carrying the flag around in the changing rooms that we saw last week before the Bristol game. And at home, Jack Van Portfleet was ace. You know, Adam Radwan gets a hat-trick. They were physically dominant. Woodward in the centres. I've spoken about him a few times this year. Really good player. And they were physically dominant over Quins, who they're throwing the towel in for the season, haven't they?
Yes, Andrew. I was second guessing myself. I don't want to be too harsh. Look, I know Danny Wilson, he's a good dude as well. He'll be under a bit of pressure. But yeah, Leicester have come good the last couple of weeks. A comfortable victory. Well, 40 points to 7 tells you that. I love Adam Ramwell on the wing. He scored 3, could have been 4, the one that was disallowed. And yeah, like Leicester are making a run for it. They've got a week off now, as we know. They've got these 2 games are tougher. They've got Sale, haven't they?
Yeah, Sale at home, Bath away, and then Newcastle at home to finish.
Yeah, so tough running with the last 2. Well, the next 2, and then the last one will, depending on where they're at, should be more comfortable. Yeah, but Adam Radwan, man, oh my goodness me. I mean, what a move for Leicester. What a shame for Newcastle. And we'll get onto that with some of the news around Steve Diamond and the conversation of losing their best players. I get that. But Adam Radwan, man, for me, when I knew that Newcastle were really struggling was when he was going to leave. And he's left mid-season to come to Leicester and already made a massive difference from them. Oh my! I mean, you saw when Quins made the break and he chased back from the intercept, from Hundred Pollard's intercept, and you saw Radwan, man, running back. Oh my wheels! He even got the tap tackle. Yeah,
ridiculous. And then he skins Tyrone Green as well, doesn't he, for his try? They're proper silly wheels, aren't they? So great signing. Ollie Hassel-Collins on the other wing as well. Big shout out to him. Top try scorer, or equal top try scorer now in the Prem with Ibitoye. So yeah, mate, they're timing it nicely. Sale at home is the kind of litmus test for them, and the form that Sale are on, and that's probably a shootout to see, you know, who's going to get the home semi-final. Because if Leicester win that one, you know, they'll probably then play Bath away, which is tough, but then Newcastle at home last game, you expect 5 points. And I tipped Leicester to finish second in the table, so let's hope the form continues, lads.
Yeah, I think my top 4 is about spot on. No, it's not. I had Northampton top 4.
Yeah, I think I did as well, actually. We'll see. We'll go back into the archives, Jim, and find out next week when it's back to Prem.
Well, we've got a theme of positivity this week, haven't we, lads? And it's nice to see a positive result from Wales.
Well, not just one,
well, yeah.
Roberto, a couple of positive results. And who'd have thought the only 2 teams to beat Leinster so far this season would be the Bulls and the Scarlets? Dwayne Peel, take a bow, because the Scarlets dispatched Leinster 35-22. And yeah, before anyone comes at me, it was Leinster's second/third team.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but also there were some big players playing in it. So Slimani was on the bench. Kelleher started. Burns at 10, I know he's not first choice. They did rest a few. They had Ryan Baird in the second row. So they had some first team players, but fair play to Scarlets. They took the game to them. And I'm going to give a big shout out to a ref here. And Jim, this might surprise you.
No, well, if you mention Mike and you say something positive about Mike Adamson, then it's going to surprise me. So
Yes,
go ahead.
positivity. Mike Adamson, as the referee for the Scarlets against Leinster game, I thought he had a great game. Because Leinster, as we know, and the top teams, going back over history, the top teams that win competitions or are there or thereabouts, push the boundaries at breakdowns, and Richie McCaw was one of the best cheats in the world ever and all that stuff. Leinster were refereed correctly. They were attacking breakdowns from all angles. And we've said it before. I remember, Jim, you made a comment on here months and months and months ago about Leinster players crawling on their hands and knees, going into rugs and stuff.
It might have been years ago, but we'll say months, it sounds closer.
And we love Leinster and we want them to do well, especially because we're heading over to Dublin this weekend. But he reffed them really well, Mike Adamson. And Scarlets, stood up to the challenge, scored some good tries. Plumtree in the back row was wicked for them. And I like Costello at 10, little crossfield kick for Rogers' try. They played some really good stuff. Roberts in the centres as well was wicked. And I know it's not Leinster's gung-ho team, but you can only credit the Scarlets for that victory, right? Because that puts them in the mix for the playoffs. Scarlets are now in 7th on 43 points, and it's a big, big win, especially when your next two games, the Scarlets, in the URC are away in South Africa. They've got the Lions away, then the Sharks away to finish. So a massive result for them, keeping them in the mix in the playoffs.
One player in that team, say his name, and I'll say Bolter at the end.
Tame Plumtree.
No. Blair Murray.
Blair Murray,
Blair
yeah.
Murray.
Yeah. Blair Murray, Jim.
Bolter.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with this game, right, and this is the worrying thing, and we're going to talk about the Northampton semi-final at the weekend, and you saw Jacques Nienaber at half-time reading the riot act to Leinster, but with how they played and so defensively poor and being broken any which way, that ain't good for Northampton at the weekend, because that is almost like the rocket. I imagine, and look, I don't want to say that they were happy to lose, but there'll be a part of it that just kind of focuses the mind that they're not unbeatable as a squad. And but it's all about Scarlets. Big shout out to them.
Well, joining us now is the mastermind behind Cardiff's win over Munster on Friday night. He had a spell with Wales. He's a good man. Matt Sherratt joins us. How are you, pal? There's question marks around what's happening in the summer. You look tanned already. How's life?
Yeah, it's all right. It's obviously been a busy month, really. Welcome back to the Six Nations. Been a bit of a whirlwind. Obviously, a lot going on at Cardiff off the field, but on the field, the boys are in pretty good space. To be honest, really good win Judgment Day, and then brilliant win against Munster. So yeah, it's going well.
Matt, just give us an idea then, a sense of how it has been in your mind, your family, like everything, because you said it's been a whirlwind. Watching it unfold, it looks like it's been chaos, to use another word. Beautiful chaos, I should say.
To be honest, you know what it's like when you're in it, when you're playing, you just kind of go week to week, really. It's probably going to be one of those things that in June sometimes I'm led on the beach and look back and think it was pretty chaotic season, but going week to week, it's been fine. I love the Six Nations. Obviously, the ending was tough, but then it's probably quite nice actually to get straight back into club because I didn't have much time to dwell on it. And then obviously the club's been a little bit bumpy in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but I've kind of known behind the scenes that the WIU were ready to step in. So although there was a worry, especially for some of the boys who've been at kind of London Irish, Jersey, Worcester, there was always that safety net to fall back on. So to be honest, we're probably more secure than we've ever been now.
And how quickly did that come about? Because obviously to the outside world, the news of Cardiff potentially going to administration and everything that goes with that, it's massive news, and it is heartbreaking for fans and players and people like that are involved with the club. And how do you broach the subject that don't worry lads, we're all right because the WIU are stepping in? And did you know far in advance that was going to be the case?
Yeah, not too far in advance. You know what it's like. You kind of start hearing kind of the odd thing that it may not be as secure as you hoped, but then it escalated and happened pretty quickly, really. And then, as I said, like we've got quite a few boys who were at London Irish, Worcester, some members of staff, and even though we tell them that we had a safety net. I think they'd heard that before, so it was a little bit unsettling for a couple of days. But WIU have been real good. To be fair, they come in, spoke to the players, and they've kept everyone up to date. So yeah, it's been interesting few months.
And just on that, it's the end of the month. So are the lads checking their bank balances to make sure they got paid, or?
Yeah, I've just checked mine. It's in there.
Hey, Jockey, look, I'm going to be positive. I'm a bit negative last week. I say the recording was dodgy. Goody was in Dubai. He was burnt. He looked like JD Vance. So it was everything was just negativity coming towards me. But I want to be positive, right? Because it's been a great weekend for Welsh rugby. You're in the heartbeat of it, right? As quickly or as much as you probably didn't want to find yourself as deep in the middle of it, you have. Talk to us about some of the athletes coming through, because I'm watching the games at the weekend and it's maybe not the way that people wanted to do it, maybe not the way that Gatland wanted to do it and just throw lads into the line of fire, but he knew what he was doing back then, probably didn't have a choice. Give us some kind of green shoots, give us some positivity about Welsh rugby just after the weekend and your time, albeit it didn't go well, but being in the Welsh camp.
Well, do you know what? It's one of those, really. Everyone always just looked at the top and that's what they kind of judge the Welsh rugby on. But obviously, I think the 20s have improved. There is a good crop coming through. Reality is it's probably 3 to 5 years away from maturing. I think Scarlets, Ospreys and obviously Cardiff, we've all got something to play for with 2 games left, which I can't remember the last time that happened. Cardiff, as an example, have never got into the playoffs, which for the capital city of such a rugby nation is mad, really. So, like, there's a fair bit to be cheerful about, but as I said, it's probably going to take a little bit of time internationally. But Scarlets, Ospreys, and Cardiff to be fighting 2 games left to get into the playoffs. With, I don't like to talk about budgets; it sounds like an excuse, but fighting against teams with, pretty much significantly more budget is definitely a positive. Yeah.
Yeah, just on that as well then for the Welsh listeners out there, because people want results now, right? And you know better than anyone, it takes time to build squads, to build players, to bring them through. How long are you thinking this whole process of bringing the next gen through? Why are you smiling? Are you thinking it's a long time? Or are you thinking it's a hard question?
Well, no, I'm just thinking if I was doing it, I'd be asking for a 10-year contract. So I'd say as long as possible, really.
Yeah.
But no, it's gonna take a while. It's yeah, I can use Cardiff. There were so many similarities, honestly, with coming back to Cardiff and Wales in terms of, I think at Cardiff we've lost something like 1,800 caps in the last 3 seasons. My first time at Cardiff, we had Gethin Jenkins, Matthew Rees, Sam Warburton, Josh Navidi, Gareth Anscombe, Nick Williams, like just so many senior players, and all those players kind of finish at once. And it was the same with the Welsh squad. So you've got kind of a new group coming through of, like, Jack Morgan is captain when really probably 5 or 6 years ago he should be one of the young lads learning his trade. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But as I said, with the 20s coming through and some lads getting some experience at the moment, I do think they'll get there. But it's going to take the full regions becoming joined up with the national team and the right people inside WIU.
Now, Jockey, obviously your background is to where you got to now. I got to know you when we were at Worcester and you were sort of running the academy there with Andrew Stanley and all stuff like that. So you've seen the youth coming through at different ages, and now obviously you were head of Wales over the Six Nations for those 3 games, and you had at Cardiff. Rugby in Wales, I know football has caught up and if not taken over in certain patches, but it's always been a religion there in terms of, every Welsh kid wants to play rugby and be a Sam Warburton or a Martin Williams or whoever else. Is that desire and that passion still there in the club game, the youth coming through and all that stuff? Because that's the bedrock of what's going to be the future of Welsh rugby, right?
Yeah, I think it is, Goody, but I also think you can't take that for granted now. There's so much else for kids to do, and there was a time, I think, and we're not going back long, probably 10 years ago, when every kid born in Wales or in the Valleys just wanted to play rugby for Wales. But yeah. Cardiff City and Swansea City are there. Boxing's actually very, very big, and then obviously we got the threat of a lot of our lads going over the bridge to the likes of Bristol, Bath, Exeter, which didn't used to happen before. The boys were home birds and they'd stay where they were. So there is definitely threats of other sports, and the threat of the English clubs coming in and offering them schooling, which you can't blame kids for doing. So I think we've just got to be really proactive and make sure that the bottom of the structure is vibrant, and we've got good coaches on the ground, and we're getting the kids attached to the regions earlier, because I think that the time now where you could just take that they want to play rugby for granted is long gone.
I'm staying positive again. Here we go. Jack Morgan, phenomenal. And outside bet, maybe he's not an outside bet, maybe he's guaranteed to go on the British and Irish Lions tour. Just give us a bit of insight into the iconic number 7 Welsh jersey and him filling it.
Yeah, well, as you said, there's been some good ones, isn't there? I think one just had his farewell at the weekend, Tipperick at the Ospreys. So he's passed the baton on to some player as well, and you couldn't learn off anyone better than him. But probably the first thing with Jack is I didn't know him actually before Welsh camp, but he's really popular with other players, and you can see why after meeting him. He's just a properly good lad. He come the hard way through. I don't think he played. Well, he got released from an academy and he was working in a steel factory, I think, and then played for Wales 20s, and then come through the hard way. And he's kept out of that kind of humility, if you like, and that hard work. So, whenever he spoke, honestly, because he's such a grafter, the players get right behind him. So, as a person, but also his performances have been brilliant there.
Yeah, they have. And just talking about the Wales stuff, going back, I know it finished pretty badly against England in terms of the result and all that, the scoreline. But take you back to the first game against Ireland when no one gave Wales a chance of being even close to Ireland. And I remember I messaged you, you were on the bus on the way to the game, weren't you? And I messaged you, is it down to my message that Ireland didn't smash Wales and they put in a big performance? And how good did it feel as head coach of Wales? Did it feel right? How much did you love it?
It might have been down to the podcast, Matt, the week before when Goody said that he thinks Ireland are going to win by 50 or 60. That's what it wasn't the message.
I meant England.
Do you know what? It was a bit of a whirlwind, if I'm honest. I was kind of just sat on a Monday night watching TV, and I got a phone call asking, and it's one of those things I didn't really want to overthink it majorly. It was I did have to think overnight about doing it, but reality is, as you said, mate, I come through from Worcester, coaching their community department in their academy, and to have the chance to coach in the Six Nations, same as to play for your country, was massive. Yeah, so it was a massive honour to do it. And then I learnt a lot doing it as well. That Ireland week, we obviously only had 1 week to prepare, and you could feel the atmosphere and the environment kind of getting a lot more positive and a bit more vibrant towards the end of the week. So I think the players took that onto the field, obviously kind of installed a bit of a new attack and give them some direction, because I think it's the easy thing. People say they lack effort, but the Welsh boys never lack effort. They just needed to put their effort in the same direction, really. So, it was really good against Ireland, second half against Scotland, and then, if I'm honest, probably a little bit of a perfect storm in the last week of the Six Nations. It was an England who had changed the way they played and were kind of riding on a little bit of a crest of a wave, and then probably a group that had been through quite a lot emotionally. So if I had that week again, I'd probably have come in maybe a little bit later in the week and let them get over the Ireland response in the second half to Scotland. So in reflection on that one, it was probably one where emotionally the group, it was a game too far.
Well, you'll get a shot at doing it again if you want it. Why do you not want it? Or do you want it again, the Welsh head coach?
No, I don't want it. For the reason it's only my second year as a head coach, and to be honest, I've never really wanted to be a head coach. I kind of did it at Cardiff because it was a good fit at the time. The club needed somebody in kind of short term, and I get on well with the staff and the players there, so I thought I'd have a go. But I still enjoy being on the grass and kind of being part of the group and coaching. That's where I get my energy. And what I found from being a head coach is it ends up dragging you away a little bit, and you do kind of you're speaking to agents, and I quite like going to the pub on a Sunday. It's wreck that, really. So
get someone to do it for you, pal.
What, go to the pub?
Well, yeah, I can do that, and I can do contracts. But there is a lot of noise at the minute. I've got to ask you the question. The rumours are that Steve Tandy's potentially lined up to get the gig. But you mentioned earlier you'd be lying on the beach in June. Which beach? Because obviously Wales have got a tour, and I'm hearing whispers that they're asking you to extend just to do the tour before Steve Tandy comes in. Can you let us know anything about A, your interest, B, is it happening, and C, where's this fucking stag do, basically?
No, genuinely, I've not spoken to anyone about it, and that's I wouldn't say that if I had, I'd probably just straight bat it. But because of all the stuff that's been going on at Cardiff, we've had 2 games in 6 days. Obviously, the club going into administration. I think WIU have been pretty busy with like the Dave Redding appointment. I've genuinely not spoken about it at all. So I'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks, and see which direction they want to go in.
Last question from me. I'm going to finish on this, and this is the clickbait. This is the headline. Do you want to be in the Prem, the English Prem, or not? Are you happy with the URC?
I like the URC. I think it's a good league. There's lots of different styles. Like you go to South Africa, go against a blitz defence at altitude, and then you go against a Connaught in the wind and rain against a passive defence. So, like from a coaching perspective, I do like the URC. I do like going to Cape Town as well, actually. So that's on the cards in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, both good competitions. Let's see what happens. It does make some sense for it to maybe join at some stage.
There we go. Good man. Well, as Jim predicted at the start of the season, Cardiff would be in the mix, and he knows his ruggers. And so, Jockey, it's been amazing chatting. Hopefully, we're going to see Cardiff for the first time in the playoffs, and basically you'll be riding on people's shoulders as the first coach to do it for them. So, legend.
Yeah, it's awesome. Cheers, Jockey. Do you know what, mate? Genuinely, watching your story unfold, I didn't know much about it before, but everyone knows about it after. It was really cool seeing you on the TV in the middle of all the Welsh stuff and, fronting a lot of that stuff, mate. I think I just from a personal point of view, seeing that, I thought it was class, mate. So good on you.
Well done, mate.
No, thanks very much. Appreciate that, mate.
Enjoy you. South Africa. Pack the budgie smugglers, mate. You look great in them.
Cheers, mate. I'll see you in a bit.
Top bloke.
Top lad.
Yeah, he is. He really is. Like, I knew him. I tell you, I'll give you a little snippet on him. He's had his teeth done. I've had my hair done, but he's had his teeth done since he's become head coach and stuff. Legend of a bloke. We used to absolutely get stuck into him, and he used to get stuck into me at Worcester. But he's a brilliant bloke. Really smart rugby brain as well.
No, hang on. No, just go back. He's had his teeth done. Where? When? Recently? After the Wales thing or before?
Last couple of years. It's got to be last couple of years, minimum.
All right.
But he's had a trip to Turkey. Same as Craig Evans, actually, another Welsh lad who's had his teeth done. But, mate, Jockey's... I
don't think he's had his teeth done, Craig Evans, has he?
He has. He told me. Turks.
Straight to Turkey. You, mate. Nay!
Yay! But no, yay. Mate, he's done a hell of a job as well. Like, when you hear about it, and you can understand now when he says... People say, why don't you want the Wales job full-time? Because it's a massive job, and obviously it's not because of the situation in Wales. He's been head coach for 2 years, and there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes as a head coach than just... And his passion is on-the-field coaching, which head coaches don't get a lot of time to do they? So fair play to him. He's a ledge.
Yeah, it was great to get some context behind that, so good on him.
Right, lads. In other news...
Oh, is that your effort?
In other news, I'm positive today. I love the news in other news.
In other news, what we got, Jim?
Well, there is some good news, and it's about the big deal that's come in for Prem Rugby, signing a £200 million pound deal, I should say, a £200 million deal. You say, is it £1 million or just million? Million. It sounds a lot, and maybe not to you, but it is to me, Andrew. But
it's a lot to
£200 million pound deal with TNT, that's good.
It is, yeah. 5-year deal, I think it is, which sees an uplift from usually around 33 million a year up to 40 by the close of the deal. Interesting, because they've done it a year ahead of when they needed to. They've got it nailed down early. Obviously, we know Premier Sports are hoovering up a lot of the stuff as well. So it's great for the Prem to have that relationship for another 5 years. But TNT definitely got it on the cheap last time round. There was a 2-year bridge. When people at Premiership Rugby made the mistake of turning down a bigger offer from TNT in the exclusivity period to then thinking they're going to go out to the market to see what else is out there, and then TNT got them on the cheaper for this 2-year deal. So it's good that the money's gone up, security for the clubs. There's obviously loads of noise, as we've said, around the potential changes in the Premiership, more teams coming in, possibly the franchising idea that we talked about a little bit last week. The bottom line is there's 200 mil over 5 years from TNT to be the broadcast partner of the Premiership or whatever that looks like over the future, and that can only be a good thing.
Right, well, on one hand, we've got a bit of positivity.
Yes.
But then on the other, Dimes isn't happy again.
Oh, mate, it's not all about Newcastle all the time. But yeah, I get this. So, Steve Diamond, me old Buffalo, have a word with yourself,
Well, there we
Dimes.
go. Let's start with the positivity first. So Rob's just gone straight negative.
Yeah.
The bloke's an icon.
He's an icon. He's in with the masses. He's got a Bath fan on one side, he's got a Newcastle fan on the other, and he's in the stands having a beer with a glass, though. It should be plastic, I must add. But he had a glass, and he's got a pint, and he's buffaloed it, Jim. What the FNL's going on?
Intentional,
Yeah.
I think. I think he knows he's done it, and he's IOU'd himself.
Well, he owes a Buffalo, but some clubs owe some money.
There you go.
That's
Rob's
what I'm
getting
saying.
angry. Jim, Saracens, pay up. What's going on?
Well, I don't know enough about how it all works. I tell you what would be really good, Rob and Goody, and I don't know what you think, but I think the fans would love this, is to do an episode with an agent who's willing to open up and tell us the ins and outs of how these work. And I know we've gone over it about credits and we can stumble our way through about how all these things work, but do you not think it would be really cool to get an expert on to talk about like how someone like Bath can afford? And I've seen some stuff around Bath about how they're doing this NFL model of kind of backlogging payments, so they'll pay players less in year one, but then when players leave, like they'll pay them more in year 3 or 4. But this academy thing's really interested about how it's all structured. I think it'd be really cool to get an agent on to explain and then work out the values of players as well. Like how much are they getting? So why is Adam Radwan leaving to go from Newcastle to Leicester? How much was he on at Newcastle? How much is he getting at Leicester? And then that way you can start figuring out the value of players and then go deeper into these conversations about if a club produces a player like Steve Diamond's on about here with guys like Guy Pepper, Phil Brantingham, and the headline one, which is Ben Redshaw, going to Gloucester, is like how that works. I didn't really know about that. I'd heard whispers about it. Do you know anything more about that, Goody? I can understand why he's annoyed. You develop the talent and then you lose it.
Well, there's rules in place for taking players, and it's not that the clubs aren't within their rights to do it. So, you know, if you're producing players through the academy and then they get snapped up, and I don't know whether it's 20 or 21, that kind of age, by another club, there is a compensation claim that those clubs then have to pay Newcastle for developing the player. So ultimately, it's to stop big clubs coming in and just hoovering up everything in the Premiership of all the decent academy prospects without the club that's invested all the time and effort into them, from whatever age, 14, 15, 16, whatever age they've joined, to get them to that because they can't afford. So ultimately, Gloucester have come in for Redshaw. Pepper's gone to Bath. Like, take Pepper, for example. He's come through the system at Newcastle. They've, put time, effort, money into developing him. And then Bath have probably doubled his wages, and let's chuck some numbers out. Bath are probably paying him 120 grand, and Newcastle would have said, we've only got 60. So what you're going to do is, Guy Pepper, you're going to run straight to Bath. And, I did it. Loads of players would do the same thing. But ultimately, the clubs that produce them, so Newcastle, and it's a shame because it is a lot of the time Newcastle at the minute because there's money issues there where other clubs come in, swoop. And there's a whole long list of players that they've produced. Because rugby in the north, and we talked about it the other week, is bloody strong in that youth system coming through, producing players. You look at some of the schools, Sedbergh and schools up north, Durham. There's some great players that have come through the system and they've just been nicked by the clubs on a monetary basis, which they brought this in to protect these clubs that are producing them. And Steve Diamond's kind of quotes on it, they're owed 5-figure compensation packages for losing academy talent to rival Premiership clubs. And it's quite interesting. He said Phil Brantingham and Guy Pepper left the club 10 months ago and their compensation claims still haven't been put on the desk by the RFU. That is unlike me, who within 24 hours receives notice of comments that I made and subsequently got a ban for. So he says there is willingness to do some things quickly and expedite discipline, but when it comes to the crux of the professional game, then this is where they're out their depth. So he's had another pop at the RFU. Fair play, Dimes. He doesn't hang about. He says what he thinks. Obviously, Saracens, Gloucester, Bath, they owe Newcastle money. So what you don't want to do, and I know Dimes knows a lot of dodgy people around Manchester and places, if you're those three clubs, pay the bill pretty quickly because you'll get an horrible knock on the door from some of Dimes' mates. And ultimately, there's rules in place for that. And rules is rules, Jim. When you got to pay, you got to pay. But how ironic is it that Jim Hamilton is talking about Bath and salary caps and how they're doing it when he was part of the scandal from Saracens? You were the straw that broke the camel's toes, Jim.
That's the rumour. I know. Yeah. What was the saying that we said? Overpaid but undervalued. That's how I look at my legacy there. But Andrew, just on me, just quickly, in other news, can I just say, because there's a bit of confusion over this, I obviously announced I was leaving Rugby Pass, and I've had a load of messages, people saying, I love the pod, please don't go, like, love you, Goody, and producer Rob. That isn't the case. So for the listeners listening, my social media post wasn't about leaving the pod, it was leaving Rugby Pass. Yes. But I know there's a bit of confusion from some people that think it's the same thing. And it was, at times, it was a little bit like that, but... yeah, that's all she wrote. Just thought I'd let you know. You don't need to comment. All right, what are you going to say?
Well, I need to comment because what was your best comment? What was your nicest comment that someone sent to you, James, or wrote about you?
Thank God you've left.
Who said that? Who's the shithouse that said that?
I promise you, I've not looked through the comments yet. I've just given it a week to breathe.
Okay. Well, when you read mine, come back to me. I can't believe he's read mine. Of course he has. Proud of you, mate. Genuinely, what you've done there, and I said it on the Instagram, I'm proud of what you've done there, and you've shaped the way for people and created content that people are following. You took risks, you were bloody good at it, and seeing the growth of you as a bloke from being that clown that used to do, what was the show you used to do at Sarries? Don't mess with Jim. Yeah, I mean, budget productions to what you produced, and I know it was all driven by you, the content, the ideas, the production. Yes, you had people helping you with the production and stuff, but seeing how hard you've grafted for 8-9 years at Rugby Pass and what you created for them, and how Rugby Pass blew up and grew as a consequence of what you were doing, mate. It's great. It's been amazing to watch. Proud of what you've done. I'm gutted it's over, but hopefully there's bigger and better things to come for you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Well, Jim, talking about podcasting, and you setting the scene and, people following. Oh, my Razzie, starting his podcast.
Flying.
He's flying. He's copying you. He's copying us. He's not. Razzie does what he wants. But quite interestingly, he had Stephen Get Me Kits Off on his podcast, and they're talking about scrum. Even Razzie doesn't know what's going on at scrums, and he's telling the boys to call them in his own 22. But an interesting thing that he came out with is about referees having a specialist scrummaging referee, which is basically an ex-player to waddle on and referee the scrums. What do you reckon, Jim? Firstly, Razzie in his podcast, and secondly, what he said with Stephen, get your kits off.
Well, you know my views on Razzie. I'm a massive fan of his, not just because I love South Africans. I think he's a pioneer. He's an innovator in everything that he does as a coach, and he gets it as well. And we saw that with Chasing the Sun, the documentary with that. But then the fact that he's doing a podcast now, and it's probably his own production company, he's controlling the narrative, and it's great. And he's been asking guests to come on and they're too scared to say no, so they just all go on, which is great. But I listened to the one with Felix Jones, which was brilliant. I've been in contact with Felix, big fan of him as well. Really cool to hear him and his story and opening up and being honest with his, I suppose, his boss, if you want to call it that. But this one specifically was with Stephen Get Your Kits Off, who retired recently with a neck injury, and they're just chewing the fat. And I love the fact that Razzie is loved not just by the fans. Obviously, he's like the king of South Africa, and he's probably got the keys to the whole country. But the fact that Stephen Kitsoff, as a retired player, goes on there and you can hear and see his vulnerabilities about, Razzie was the boss, and Razzie said, I had to have some tough conversations with you, Steve. And now seeing that different dynamic from human to human. So firstly, that's just really cool. It works. They've got a massive audience in South Africa that want to hear from the king and his princes.
That's it, the king.
He's doing that.
That just describes Razzie in 2 words, the king.
He gets it as well. It's a king that just understands the direction of the sport and what it needs. And I think now, because they've been so successful, he's started opening up for the world to see what they're doing. It's like, this is what we're doing. Come and get us. Come and hunt us down. And by doing a podcast, you see, as we know, better than anyone, you get that human perspective and that raw authenticity, if you want to call it that, when we don't edit half the show down because we've said too many swear words. But Rassie's doing it right. And with this one specifically, just to carry on, the one with Stephen Kitsoff, I watched it. I didn't listen to it. I watched it, and they're talking about the scrums and they're talking about the mauls and the fact that they've actually changed. Well, Rassie specifically has changed the way he feels about referees. He doesn't want to go too hard at them. He empathizes with them because he sees how difficult the job is, or the fact that they've got Jaco Piper involved in their coaching staff. He's maybe told them. But the scrum one specifically was really interesting because, as we know, it's a difficult part of the game for referees to referee. And there's so much going on. They're only on one side of the scrum. And Rassie's idea was basically to bring on a fitter, Osterant or Ollie LaRue, to come on and basically referee the scrum for that one moment. And the idea was right, whether or not it could happen. But you think someone like David Flatman, when he's educating the audiences, when he's doing ITV during the Six Nations, they know more about scrums than the referee. And so one thing I did disagree with was the fact that Rassie said, and he was being too nice to the refs, that they don't 100% know what's going on. I feel like they should. Yeah. Which, again, is a bit negative.
It's your job. It's your job.
And it's your job to do that. But I think there needs to be an innovation around that, whether they bring on another referee or the linesman in to do that, or the linesmen specifically are scrum specialists. Yeah. Because the other parts of the game are quite obvious from a linesman's point of view, or woman.
The problem for Flats, though, if you mentioned him, he definitely can't run on the field to do the referee. If it's 50 yards away, I couldn't run on the field if it's 50 yards away. So Flats definitely
You know what
can't.
I mean, though? Someone like a Nick Wood, for example. Nick Wood's
Commander.
refereeing. Yes, I shall penalise you.
Commander.
Even though he stamped on Jartberger's face.
Legend of a bloke,
Scott
though,
Britz's
Nick Wood, isn't
face.
he? Yeah.
But someone like that who could run the touchline but also understands the nuances of scrummaging. So it's a great idea by Rassie. You know what? It'll probably happen now he said it.
Yeah, it will. It will. And I go back to, James, you mentioned Rassie and he's now podcasted him. One of my nicest, well, probably the only nice message anyone's ever sent me, or very few, was from Rassie back in 2021. I've just found it again now. Back in 2021. Hi, Andy. Rassie here. Don't want to be mentioned or quoted, but just want to say thank you for being level-headed and open-minded and honest. I admire that in people. Rassie. That was when we were talking about...
Well, he's not going to admire that now, because the first line was he doesn't want to be quoted.
I've just been honest. he respects me because I'm honest, right? And that was in 2021, so 4 years ago. Rassie, basically, I've been asking him for 4 years since he sent me that message to come on our pod. And he's like, later, my brew. So maybe we'll collaborate with them, James.
Right, lads, some quick fire transfer and coaches' movements news.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, Manny Leboc's going to Japan, which I'm gutted about, because I would have loved to have seen him in a Leicester jersey.
Yeah, I would as well, actually.
The way the Prem is at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I love Manny Leboc. He's had some massive moments, both positively and negatively. Everyone just goes at his kicking for the negative, but he's a ridiculously talented player, isn't he? The skill set on him, and I still look at that. It sometimes pops up on my Instagram feed. His no-look crossfield kick against Scotland in the World Cup. Sorry to bring it up, Jim, but he looks through.
No, it was world class.
Yeah, he looks through. Whose soul did he look through when he kicked it? Who was it? The Scottish second row.
Mine.
No, it was the last World Cup, Jim. So you'd retired.
Yeah, but I said that Scotland were going to win that day.
That was probably it. But no, I mean, I said it about Leicester. They need a 10. They need a head coach. So Liam McDonald has been talked about at Leicester. Manny Leboc's been mentioned as the 10, but I don't think either of them are coming now. So we shall see.
Well, that's the thing. Talking of rumours and Leicester, if Czechs goes to Racing 92, I ain't going to be happy, because I thought the whole thing was he was going home. So he's been banded about for Racing 92, which you could see, coached in Paris. I think he's got a house in Paris. Well, I know he's got a house in Paris. He always goes back there. Or the Queensland Reds, which is probably a better fit for him. But I don't know.
But why would he be going to the Queensland Reds, Jim?
Is that where he's from?
No. Because it leads on to another coaching rumour.
So who is at Queensland Reds? Is that Les
Kiss? Yeah. Les, give me a kiss.
He then moves to Australia, which is the other rumour.
Yeah, just little movements.
Look at us just piecing the jigsaw together.
Yeah, there is big rumours around Les Kiss taking over from Joe Schmidt post the Lions tour in the summer. He's done a great job at Queensland Reds. Brad Davis, big mate of mine, part of the coaching setup. I suggest that he'd move with him as well. So, I mean, that's the rumours on the rumour mill that a few coaches are moving around, James.
Yeah, well, final, I don't know if it's a rumour or it's an ask or a plea or just a call to action, but Rob, how's the running going firstly? And is it got that desperate that you've not got flights to Australia yet or no sponsorship money coming in? Because we are looking for small or medium-sized brands, I don't know what that actually means, or anyone who wants to sponsor Rob Rogan, aka Producer Rob, and in return we can offer exposure on our social media channels. Rob, why is this in here? Are you struggling for?
He just wants to mention
for money
Jim.
or flights or what?
He wants to mention so everyone remembers he's doing this mad run for the Delalio Foundation. But also, on top of Jim's question, I've got one. I saw John Terry's nipples were bleeding yesterday doing the marathon. Are your nipples bleeding? Because they look swollen. They look swollen, Rob. What's happened?
He's feeding.
The nipples are all right, but the toenails aren't.
Oh no!
So we need some cash to make it worthwhile. So yeah, the Just Giving page is live now. So if you go to justgiving.com, I think if you just search Producer Rob, I think the page will come up.
Are you that big time? It's just Producer Rob.
It's just Producer Rob now, yeah.
This bloke here, Jim.
Rob, but more specifically, mate. So why is there talk? Why is this in there about sponsorship? Is this to get you to Australia, or is this to slap someone's name on their ass? Because I tell you now, Maul and Brawl will sponsor you. I'll sponsor you £10,000 if you get Maul and Brawl tattooed between your shoulder blades.
Like a full-on tattoo. I was going to say, what about
Full-on
across the
tattoo,
forehead?
as in proper.
Across the forehead.
I need to check the stock. No, I'll just do the back. I'll do the back from shoulder blade to shoulder blade, like my mate 100% Kovskin got Jace. He got that. I'll sponsor you. I need to count the stock and just see if Beck's willing to start distribution again for Maul and Brawl. But would you do that or not? Are you looking for something a bit more corporate?
I would have it across my arse on a pair of budgies, but I think a tattoo might be beyond.
Okay, so
have a think about it.
Have a
all
think.
right, Rob,
Give
just
us a
see how
price.
desperate you are.
Give us a price for it.
Yeah. Well, Big Lol's been on the phone saying I need to up the fundraising efforts. So yeah, if there are any small to medium-sized brands out there that want to put their name across my arse for this run, get in touch, basically.
There you go. But if Big Lol says, you do, right?
That's what you do.
Whatever he says, I'll do. I mean, tell him to call me. Whatever he says, I'll get it done. Andrew, we got some big news.
We have.
It's bitlastminute.com, but we have got a live show in Dublin this Friday.
I'm so thirsty.
Yeah, well, not only is it the Champions Cup semi-final in Dublin, where we'll be on Friday, where Leinster take on, I'm going to say it, the mighty Northampton Saints, but we're going to be having a live show. We're back for one night and one night only, thanks to our friends. We are all friends at Premier Sports, so they're sponsoring the show. So if you want to come, tickets are available now at ticketpass.org. Just search the Rugby Pod or check out the social channels quickly, because they'll probably sell out quickly. And hopefully we'll see a few Northampton Saints fans there if you've not been to a show before and you've been locked up in the all-you-can-eat Chinese and you're out the house now in Dublin. Come to a show the night before, and we'll even throw in a free pint with every ticket purchased.
There we go. Mate, I'm pumped for it, James. You know how much I love Dublin. I am there Friday night and Saturday night. This live show, James, is going to be epic with Premier Sports. And the fact that we are doing a live show with Premier Sports, they're doing us all a solid as well, because they're offering UK viewers 2 months of Premier Sports for half price to customers on Sky or on the Premier Sports streaming service in the UK. Just use the Rugby Pod, all one word, when signing up. You get 2 months for half price. But basically, get yourself to the live show at the Harcourt Bar on Harcourt Street on Friday night. Saints fans will see you there as well. These live shows in Dublin, it always amazes me that they sell out so quickly. So I am coming. Jim's coming. Roberto, you coming?
To be confirmed.
To be confirmed. But we don't need Rob. Basically, me and Jim are there for a night out as well and a live show. So get your tickets quick.
Hang on, Andrew. Let's just be careful with putting your name to a night out, because I'm proud of you. You're commentating the next day for Premier Sports,
Yes.
which is a big deal because it's a semi-final.
Yes.
So I'm genuinely proud of you.
Yes.
Please, just let's put an hour cut-off point of 3. Let's just say 3
Can we say
a.m.
4?
Okay, we'll say 4. I'm happy with 4. I've seen you walking at 7, 8 in the morning before, so I'm happy with 4.
There we go. There we
Let's
go.
look after yourself. It's a big week. It's a big weekend for you.
It is, but having had a holiday with the kids and the fam, and you have, Jim, I think both of us are
Oh,
quite
mate, I
thirsty.
have never been thirstier. I'll tell you now. I'll tell you now, mate. I feel like I haven't drank a glass of water in 3 months.
See you in Dublin.
Well, they pip Bristol at the weekend. But what matchups are you most looking forward to against the Leinster lads?
Well, do you know what? Before this weekend, I'd have been like, Saints probably haven't got much of a hope. And everyone's probably thinking Leinster at home and the team they've got and what they did with Geordie Barrett and RG Snyman and how good their Ireland internationals are and how easy the quarterfinal was against Glasgow, who, are USC champions. Saints aren't having a great season in the Prem, but over the last few weeks and seeing how Mike Adamson reffed Leinster at the weekend and seeing defensively how if there's a team that can go there and cause Leinster a load of issues with a bit of physicality, not a massively physical team, Saints, but speed of ball, Alex Mitchell at 9, the short kicking game of Finn Smith is going to be crucial. And the options that Saints have in attack, led by the brain behind the attack in Sam Vesti, my old bogey picker, Red Bulls, we called him, what else did we call him? Knob Cheese. He had loads of nicknames, didn't he, Jim? But they are a very intelligent team at times and play an unbelievable brand with the likes of Freeman, Dingwall, Finn Smith, as I mentioned. If they can get ball and parity and speed of ball and they're Leinster are ref properly, then Saints have a proper chance here. My only concern for Saints, and I don't want to be negative before we start, Jim, talking about the matchups or whatever, the referee's got announced today and it's Pierre Brousset, my old French ref. So basically anything goes. They'll be on their hands and knees crawling at all angles, Leinster. But Saints need some parity and some good refereeing.
Well, my worry is with him is that he hates Scotland, and you've got Finn Smith, who's effectively Scottish, and Henry Pollock as well, playing for Northampton.
Yeah.
That is the worry with that. But, mate, there's some big matchups in there. Everyone's going to be looking naturally at the 10s, Finn Smith, Sam Prendergast.
Yeah.
Arguably both going on the Lions tour. But, look, I really hope Northampton come through and fire some shots, and that's what we said about Glasgow, like the hope was, and they got absolutely destroyed. I think the semi-final occasion, the fact that it's in Dublin, Leinster under a little bit of pressure, Northampton's messaging all week. Actually, if I know what I'm talking about, I'm guessing, but my message to the team would be, you got nothing to lose. So you go there, all the pressure's on Leinster, they're expected to win. But the matchups between Finn Smith and Sam Prendergast, Sam's looked comfortable, hasn't he, on the front foot with Geordie Barrett outside him and having the likes of RG Snyman and Caleb Doris and Dan Sheehan and getting over the game line and all of these things. But Northampton have come into a bit of form. Yeah. And Tommy Freeman, I think everyone thinks is a shoo-in now for the Lions tour. Henry Pollock versus Josh van der Fleer. Augustus has been great for Northampton. What a shame that he's leaving at the end of the season. But how good was he again at the weekend up against Caleb Doris? Curtis Langdon, we're big fans of him on the show up against Dan Sheehan. There's throughout, there's loads.
Mitchell against Jameson Gibson Park.
Yeah, well, exactly. How good's Alex Mitchell been in the last few weeks as well? Because I was like, well, I've not even spoken about him to be the Lions 9, but you're actually thinking if he's playing like that and they want to play like that and they're sniping and Finn Smith goes and all of these things, this jigsaw that we've been putting together this show, you can see it. But it's this weekend and I'm sure all the Lions coaches are going to be there looking at the game, and I just hope that Northampton can fire some shots.
Yeah, the biggest one for me probably in terms of talking points is Henry Miol Pollocks coming up against Josh van der Fleer. Bearing in mind, Josh van der Fleer has never been a British and Irish Lion. Everyone's talking Henry Pollock up, and rightly so for what he's produced. I spoke to someone today, and they're like, someone said to me, and I feel harsh saying this on our podcast, someone said to me, I can't wait to see Henry Pollock get absolutely smashed by the Leinster boys. I was like, why are you being horrible? Like, we're talking him up here. And they went, I said, he's playing really well. And a lad was like, he's only in the Premiership though, isn't it? This is proper step up. And it's his first kind of acid test, isn't it, Henry Pollock? Yes, he got capped against Wales. He came on with 20 to go, whatever, and a couple of tries. He's having some big performances in the Prem. And they only played Cast, and he played well in that game in the quarterfinals. But this is proper. How good are you in the here and now? And he is a good player. Bags and bags of potential. We're loving what he's doing and how he's doing it. But this is a proper how big your balls. Can you take everything that you've done so far and do it against the top international team in Leinster? And his battle with Van der Fleer, and we'll know come Sunday, how players have performed, whether he's ready to make the step to the Lions, as people are saying he's a potential bolter, or it's your time will come in 4 years' time, lad.
Yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on the lad, but you're right. This is the one, and it's an obvious thing to say, right? But there's not going to be a huge amount of space. It's all going to be around after contact meters. It's going to be, can he get one turnover? Because he's not going to go into the game and get 2-3 turnovers against Leinster who are on their hands and knees when they're blasting through rucks. Like, it's just not happening. But the chip and chase, some of the stuff that he's done has looked absolutely phenomenal in the Premiership.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. And you've said it there, Goody. He performs in this game, I reckon he's in. I reckon for everything around him, the circus, the media, the profile, all that adds to it, right? But you've got to do it on the pitch at the highest level, and this is as close. This is the level of the Lions, and they're all going to be looking.
I hope he rocks up and absolutely smashes it. Genuinely.
Imagine how good. Imagine how good if he does.
Yeah.
Did you watch Gloucester yesterday, lads?
Did they have a game? I thought it was like a team run. Oh, my Exeter Chiefs.
My word.
Biggest ever Premiership defeat, 13 tries shipped. I mean, as the coach, and fair play to the coach, they came out, and Rob Baxter said it's the worst day of his coaching career ever. But let's be positive. Gloucester were, and you can only beat what's in front of you. Their driving game, Jim, that's got hallmarks of what you used to do at that club, to the cowsheds and back. Driving game, great, but some of the offloading, the ball out the tackle. And it was all created and caused by some whispers and rumours that someone from Exeter, James, said the Gloucester
Daffy
lads.
Jenkins.
Was it Daffy Jenkins?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know for sure. It was someone Welsh. I'm thinking him. I just don't know why.
Said they're soft or got a soft underbelly. I'll show you a soft underbelly, lads. But yeah, it didn't.
Have you ever
go
looked
well.
under your belly or not? Have you ever lifted up and do you wipe with a towel or a tissue under there or not?
James, I'm in the shape of my life for me at the moment.
But you still have the flap.
I don't have a flap, James. Like, I've fucking seen the pipes on these now.
No, you've got great arms, Andrew. You've got great arms, but are you on roids or not?
No, I'm on nothing, James, but hard work and sugar.
Oh, Andrew, you are. Supplementation, mate.
Exeter, how bad?
79 points to 17. I don't know. I've never seen that at all. And Gloucester looked very good. I mean, we can go through the names. Thomas Williams looked brilliant again.
M.O.M.
Christian Wade, like the list was endless really, and it was a team run. So sometimes it's hard to unpick where the positives and negatives are. But to see Tony Rowe in there at the end, literally looks like he was about to take his last breath. Let's hope he won. He was that angry, and he's the money man, right?
Was he redder than me last week?
Well, imagine how fuming. If he's going in there, right, and he's read the room many a times and he's seen the lows, he's felt the highs, and this for him to probably be in the change rooms afterwards, the lowest of the low. It's a small changing room as well.
Yeah.
At Gloucester.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So that hopefully he's had some chewing gum, because I don't imagine the breath was great when he's going through the team like that. But yeah, I don't want to sit here and say it was embarrassing, but
It was.
It's 79 points that you've shipped, and it was a game of touch for Gloucester.
Right, should we finish things off with the good, the bad and the ugly?
Yes, let's. We're going to start off in the good, and we're going to start with the Welsh regions. Nearly all of them won. I say nearly because the Dragons can't buy a win at the minute, but Cardiff beat Munster, the Ospreys beat the Dragons, and I'll come back to the other one in a bit. Over in the top 14, Van get a shout out in the good this week. They beat Toulon 29-19 at home to keep their top 14 survival hopes alive. They're now 1 point behind Perpignan and Stad in 13th and 12th respectively. So big shout out to Van. Jim, you'll be happy with this one. Not the Scotland teams, but the South African teams. The South African provinces, franchises, call them what you will. They all won at the weekend. The Bulls beat Glasgow. They got their revenge, kind of, at Scotstoun on Friday night, helped by my friend referee Andrew Brace. I thought he had a good game, to be honest, but, you know, what do you know? The Sharks beat Ulster. The Lions beat Connacht at home, and the Stormers absolutely smashed Benetton 56-5. And a shout-out goes in the good as well to Sasha Feinberg Umgamazulu. He got a full house. Do you know what that is, James?
I do, yeah. It's when you get all your family around your house and you have a big party at Christmas.
That is true as well. But he got a try, penalties, conversions, and a drop goal. So a full house for Sasha Feinberg Umgamazulu. He played exceptionally well. What else was good? The Tigers smashed Quins 40 points to 7 to go up to second in the Premiership. Gloucester destroyed Exeter 79-17. And Sale's good form continues, beating Saracens 25-7. So shout out to all those teams. The good this week can only go to one team. And I don't think I've ever said this. I might never say it again, but the Scarlets are going to win the Good this week. So to all our fans in Wales, internationally, in and around that region, you supporting the Scarlets, you get the Good this week for beating Leinster 35-22. Only the second team to do it this year, and it's been 6 years since they last beat Leinster. So massive shout out to Dwayne Peel, all the Scarlet boys. They must have had a hell of a night out as well. No game this week, and you've just dusted up Leinster. Only their second defeat of the season. So massive shout out to Scarlets. That's why you win the Good this week. The bad, few bits of bad. We'll start off with the Irish provinces, James. They get a mention in the bad this week. They all lost this weekend. Munster at Cardiff, Leinster at the Scarlets, as we just said. Ulster at home against the Sharks, and Connacht lost at the Lions. The Dragons, of course, they're in the bad this week. They're in pretty much every week. They took 57 points against the Ospreys. Benetton took 50 at the Stormers. Quins get mentioned in the bad as well. Now 4 on the spin, conceding 40 or more points per game. Defence is optional at that club, isn't it, Jim? But the bad this week can only go to one place. We spoke about it earlier. Exeter Chiefs. They ain't chiefing this week. They are the opposite of Chiefs. They are... What is the opposite of a chief, Jim?
Private.
Just anything. Exeter getting spanked. Imagine the skid mark, 79-17. Tony Rose gone mad. Absolutely woeful. Rob Baxter's worst ever coaching day, he said himself. So that's why Exeter Chiefs. We'll just call them Exeter, because they weren't Chiefs. They win the bad this week. And then the ugly, only one bit of ugly I could find, really. And that was Louis Brown. One of your boys, Rob. You see it?
What happened?
Well, he basically got shoulder square in the head of Austin Emmons, the Bath fullback, straight red card. And apparently I heard, because Austin Emmons is a proper ginge, he's gone after him and banged him in the ginge. And you can't do that. You can't pick on a ginger lad like that. So
He's falling, wasn't
No,
he?
he
He's
wasn't.
banged him in the
Yeah, he's
ginge. What does that mean?
banged him in the ginger nut, mate. He's gone after his ginger nut. Not happening. You can't go after people's hair like that with your shoulder just because he's got ginger on him. So anyway.
Even if it's ginger, no, even if it's ginger, you can't do that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think those rules is rules, James.
You don't think so, or you know so?
I know so.
Hang on. You don't think so, or you know so?
I know you can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot go and plant your shoulder into someone's head, whether he's got bright ginger hair, whether he's got brown hair, whether he's got no hair. You just steer clear of the head. So Lewis Brown, he got the ugly this week for his shoulder to the head and straight red card.
Shout outs to finish.
Yes, sir. We got a shout out. We got a load of shout outs, but this one's to West Park St Helens Northers, men's first team, as they've just won promotion to level 6 by winning the league. The first time they've done so in 27 years. So big shout out to West Park St Helens. I presume they're up north.
Yeah, they are, mate. They are. Another shout out to Frampton Cotterell RFC Juniors near Bristol's, who are hosting their friends at Parisis RFC from the northwest suburbs of Paris in April. This is an exchange that has been happening for nearly 50 years, so great to see camaraderie like that in the game and tradition. 50 years of exchanging games between you and a French team. Good effort, lads. So well done to Frampton Cotterell RFC Juniors near Bristol's, and just smash the French, basically.
Big shout out to Xavier. Is that how you say it? Or Xavier? How do you say it, Andrew, if you're posh?
Xavier, I would say.
Xavier High School rugby team from Manhattan.
Yes!
For incredible Easter tour across the UK. So they are American. So I'm thinking, is there a Manhattan in the UK? There's not. They're an American high school team, but they've been exploring London, Bath, I call it Bath, and Cardiff, and also training at the Stonex and coaching from Bath rugby coaches. And best of all, they went the whole trip undefeated. So yeah, a few mouthfuls in there, but a big shout out to Xavier High School rugby team from Manhattan. They've had a great time here in the UK.
Hell yeah, man. USA. Anyway, let's move on. Big shout out to Mistley Rugby Club. Good people at Mistley Rugby Club. I did their dinner a few years ago as their firsts finished third in the league after being promoted last year. And the Marauders, which is their second team, have also gone unbeaten, winning the league title and the Suffolk Bronze Cup. The Swans, which is the women's team, also had their first competitive game on Saturday and walked away with a big win. So it's wins all round for Mistley Rugby Club. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want me back for your dinner, I'll come back because it was a hell of a night. Jim, you need to do that one.
Do I?
Yeah, Colchester.
Oh, Colchester. No,
that's
there's
where
a
we had
prison down there. The military prison back in the day. But I'll go, not to prison, but I'll go to the event. And finally, we got a shout out to Jersey Rugby Club under 12s. They won the Junior Siam Cup over in the island's rivals, Guernsey. So big up to the Jersey under-12s team against Guernsey. Jersey and Guernsey.
Big
Both
rivalry.
islands.
Big island rivalry there, Jim.
We
Island
love versus island.
we love Jersey.
Want an island boy, want an island girl.
There we go.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, James.
Alrighty. Thanks, lads.
Dublin, we're coming for you, eh?
Yes, we are. We are.
And just to let everyone know in Dublin, please buy a ticket because you've heard it here first. Jim Hamilton is very thirsty. It doesn't happen often.
I'll believe it when I see it.
It will happen on Friday night. Then it'll be something to
Rob,
watch.
you just remember your passport, mate, and don't miss your flight if you come in. So, right, big thank you to everyone else who listens to the show. You're the most important people in all this. And as always, a big thank you to Spotify. And we're on all the socials, aren't we, Rob? How are the socials doing, Rob?
Good.
That's all you need. One
Thank
word.
you.
Good.
I thought we were going to say flying.
Yeah. Check us out on all the socials and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Atta boy, Rugby Spot.
Spotted pod.